I will talk right now with my guest, member of the Ukrainian Parliament and co-chair of the Inter-Parliamentary Alliance on China, Oleksandr Merezhko. Mr. Merezhko, greetings and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a great pleasure to be here with you.
So, Mr. Merezhko, my first question to you will be as follows. What can Ukraine gain from the cooperation with Taiwan?
I think a lot of things, but first of all, to me, it's a morally right solution to support Taiwan because both countries, Taiwan and Ukraine, are democratic states. And in the global struggle between the world of democracy and freedom against the world of authoritarian regimes, the world of autocracy, we should be on the same side. Additionally, we receive a lot of support from our Taiwanese friends because they have introduced very serious sanctions against the aggressor state, against Russia. Economically, if we develop our relations, they might be mutually beneficial and fruitful for both countries. So we need to develop all aspects of relations between our states. And we have also a lot in common. First of all, both countries, Ukraine and Taiwan, live in the shadow of sort of empires which threaten their existence. That's why we should support each other. We are democracies, and by supporting each other, we strengthen democracy worldwide.
How can the Russian war in Ukraine affect the rapprochement between Kyiv and Taipei?
I think it's inevitable in a way, because Taiwan and case of Ukraine are viewed as very similar. The thing is that if Ukraine fails and if Russia succeeds, it will send a signal to China, and China can start aggression against Taiwan. On the other hand, if we survive and when we attain a victory over the aggressor, it will improve situation around the Taiwan Strait. It will improve security of Taiwan. And in a paradoxical, strange way, despite geographical distance, both countries are related between each other.
Mr. Oleksandr, should we look back at Beijing's reaction, and is it worth hoping that China can become a guarantor of Ukraine's security or somehow force Russia to stop the war?
I don't believe in this for several reasons. First of all, we remember that China and Russia, on the eve of Russian full-scale invasion of Ukraine, they had created what they call strategic partnership without limits. In reality, Russia right now is a junior partner of China, and it's becoming more and more dependent upon China. For this reason, we cannot rely and we cannot trust China at all. Secondly, China provides economic help to Russia by buying in large quantities Russian natural resources. In fact, it finances Russian war machine, which is dangerous to Ukraine. And we shouldn't also forget that China is spreading and amplifying Russian propaganda, Russian propagandistic narratives against regarding Russian war against Ukraine.
So you've already talked about the similarity between two super powerful countries, China and Russia. So if Ukraine wins, China loses or not?
I think yes, because each time democracy wins over autocracy, autocracy and authoritarian regime are defeated. So in this regard, Ukrainian victory, which is inevitable, will inevitably strengthen democracy in the whole world. And it will make authoritarian regimes like Russia, like China, less powerful.
Mr. Merezhko, can rapprochement with Taiwan be considered the end of the Ukraine's strategic partnership with China?
I think so. To me, this strategic partnership had ended on the February 24th. I don't believe that it's realistic to get China on our side. China is not interested in defeat of Russia because Russia is a partner, is a junior partner to China, and China is trying to sort of assimilate Russia, to turn it into its vassal. And for this reason, China is not interested in Ukrainian victory. I don't believe that China is sincere about its attempts to seek peace, because even though it tries to pretend to be neutral, in reality, this is kind of neutrality on the side of Russia.
But don't we need China to try to at least to force Russian government to stop the war in Ukraine?
If China wanted to do that, they would definitely do it, and they would have done it already. But we don't see anything of that. We only hear rhetoric, empty rhetoric about peace, about diplomatic or political solution. But we don't see any deeds, any true attempts to stop Russia. China can stop Russia, but China is not doing anything for that.
So, and my last question to you for today, Mr. Merezhko. So far, Ukraine has not recognized the independence of Taiwan. Can we at least assume that it will be the next step in our development of the bilateral relations?
Well, in the foreseeable future, I don't see any prospect for that, for a very simple reason, because we continue to stick to the so-called one China policy. And we are not going to recognize Taiwan as an independent state. And interestingly enough, Taiwan itself doesn't recognize itself to be, at least from legal point of view, independent from the mainland China.
But what about the long-term perspective?
Well, first of all, I believe that we need to follow example of civilized democratic European countries and to establish in Ukraine, in Kiev, a representative office, economic and cultural representative office of Taipei. We can follow, for example, example of Poland, which already has such an office, such a representative office, and it doesn't lead to any complications or problems with the mainland China. We can start with this because it's a necessary step to develop further our economic, political, and cultural relations.
And I think you'll start it, and good wishes to you with this. So this was Oleksandr Merezhko, the member of the Ukrainian Parliament and co-chair of the Inter-Parliamentary Alliance on China. Thank you very much for joining us today.